So I was going to make a video on how the right is now getting split up between each other by because of Nick Fuentes. But then I decided that there's a video that I just recently saw that is going to be way more um interesting, at least for me to make, when it comes to the commentary and the understanding of how this person works. And you will see a familiar face and yeah, let's get into the video.
Let's talk about this man, shall we?
Yep, so it's Nick Fuentes and Metatron in the same video. Don't switch it off yet. We're gonna get into some real interesting stuff.
What do you guys think? Like, hate, or indifferent? I'm really interested on the person we're gonna watch today and their take on Nick.
So the truth is, if you support dictators, if you are a Holocaust denier, if you go to a Jewish person in real life and you troll around the street looking for him so that you can debate him on whether or not the Holocaust happened, then you probably should be dismissed as a serious person. But let's see what spin he's going to get in this video.
Whatever you think about Nick, whatever I think about Nick, his ideas really, because I don't know him as a person. But today I want to know what Amir Odom, if I mispronounce it, I apologize profusely, thinks about Nick. Because he titled this video reacting to the most viral Nick Fuentes clips, not the recent, the most viral. Man, I'm really interested in seeing what Amir thinks, because I've seen Amir a few times and some of his takes were quite based. He seems to be...
So, for those of you that don't know, the word based is basically a way of saying someone's saying something controversial and probably incorrect, but I personally agree with it, or I like the fact that the person is saying something controversial, and that's usually what it means for any of you who are confused.
Very like open-minded. I'm really curious. Let's see what we got, and I'll tell you, of course, if I agree or disagree with what Nick says as well. I will say it.
Anyone that has any genuine racial hatred, we have to just say there's something wrong with you.
I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir by talking like this to my the group that watch my videos, but we all know that people who are racist will always say they don't hate black people. They hate the way they act. Some of them will even go further and say they hate the way they look. And then there's like, but I don't hate them as people. This, if you don't hate them, it doesn't mean anything. It's just nonsense. The rest of your action should meet that statement. You can't say I don't hate women, but I don't want them in my presence. I don't want them working for me. I don't want them around me. I don't want them because I think they're unintelligent. It's like, okay, but it doesn't matter that you said at one point that you don't hate them. It's clear that you do.
Anyone that has any genuine racial hatred, we have to just say there's something wrong with you.
I'm a young man. My country has been stolen from me.
Oh, it's...
Wait, what? Did he say his country? What? Who stole your country? That's not there. And then secondly, there is someone who had their land stolen and is in the country that you're talking about right now. They're called Native Americans. You could even argue that the quote unquote Americans stole the land from the British as well after they won, because if it's finders keepers, then the English found it and kept it, and then the Americans stole it twice more.
It's not the Jews. No, it's not women. No, it's not blacks. It's actually really complicated. No, it isn't at all. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. And we would live in paradise.
In this video,
so you can already see which direction this video is going. It's, oh, look, a black guy likes Nick Fuentes. Therefore, he's pretty cool because some black guy, which by the way, only works on white people. Like the idea that if a black guy says something stupid, then the rest of black, first of all, I'm a black guy. I've said stuff on my channel that people disagree with on everything, including race. So this idea that we all just going to agree with this guy or anybody else just because he's black, he's clearly a fan of Nick Fuentes, which is weird because, you know, what's there to be a fan of? except if you're just like a weird edgelord type of person, like you're some edgy dude.
We're going to be reacting to Nick Fuentes clips, and not in a gotcha kind of way, but in a genuine just trying to understand the things he says, why people find him to be absolutely hilarious, the top clips that I've seen, clips that I honestly agree with.
Wow. So
I mean, the real reason why they find him funny is obvious. It's because he's saying weird stuff, and he's saying it confidently and blah blah blah, in the same way that some musicians speak about killing people, sometimes real people, and people find it entertaining because it's like, look at this clown running around saying crazy things. Like, does like what, where does he get that confidence, the audacity to do stuff like that? And then they think, oh yeah, everyone likes me. No, everyone's looking at you like you're, you know, like a car crash, like, whoa, why are you being so crazy? That's why they don't do it.
that already, I have to give him, this guy could really, I know he has 700,000 plus here, but man, did you see his lip sync? That was professional. That was professional. Does he have a TikTok? Because that's what I'm told TikToks do. The youth do on TikTok. He did a fantastic job. Already a mixed bag at the beginning. I mean, the very first thing Nick said, I have to say, that was pretty good.
That's a lot of praise for a guy who's just lip syncing a video, but okay.
But then the other one was a bit like, oh, so, but he said that on some things he agrees, on some things he disagrees. I think I'm kind of similar, but I'm so curious to see how he reacts to the part about black people. I just love the way he speaks. Him is so transparent. He really sounds like a guy that it would be fun to hang out with. I don't know if I'm the only one who, Amir, I mean, like he really gives that vibe, if I dare use a Gen's whatever the heck alpha word.
So again, this guy is getting high praise. You can imagine why. This is probably like a foreshadowing for what's coming in the future. Already this guy's being praised as like a cool guy to hang around with. Okay, maybe he is. I don't know him. All I know about him is that so far he's sided with a Holocaust denier and said he's like a cool, funny guy. Not a good start, in my opinion. If you find yourself siding with a Holocaust denier, you're probably not that, you know, but we'll see.
And some things that just provide more context to what he talks about and the man that he is. And like the title of this video, we're going to be debunking and help clearing, I guess, some of the lies being told about him. I'm not saying I agree with him 100% on anything. Of course. I don't agree with anybody 100%, but I'll always call out and point out when we're having a large group of people.
So let me first start by saying that there's not a lot of lies going around about Nick Fuentes. When you do controversial things, that's what the media needs. They don't need to lie about you. When you do stuff that's crazy, they don't need to lie about you. They could just say the stuff that you say and put it out there. This idea that everyone's lying on this man, okay, let's see. What evidence do you have that people are just lying? At the end of this video, there better be a whole bunch of lies.
Like this person, like Nick Fuentes, and then another large group of people saying, don't listen to that, don't listen to that. No, we finna listen to that. We are.
Well, unfortunately for me, I'm one of those people where when someone does something stupid, a lot of the times I have to pay attention, because if you don't, you end up with something like ISIS where they come out of nowhere. So I paid attention to this guy for years, and he hasn't changed a tiny bit. I mean, he changes how he delivers the message, which is a typical white supremacist thing they do. Go watch the Vice News videos on white supremacists if you want to know how they do it. They literally go and tell them, like, soften your message because people aren't going to be able to accept it, and then find people who are within your group so that the message go through. People like Richard Spencer, when they were at their height, they tried to soften their message, even though it was rejected wholeheartedly, but not only by black people, by the way. Nick Fuentes is not popular around any group of people. Now, of every group of people, you have the weirdos who like hearing people say weird stuff. So there's different people in different groups who are weird as hell who listen to him. But for the most part, everyone realizes that he's just a weird little kid.
You keep telling us to ignore this man. You keep telling us not to like him, not to listen to him. You're only pushing people to do that. And in this video, we're going to talk about why he's on.
Wait, is that how you advertise to people? You keep telling them not to do something and then they'll eventually do it? Don't buy my book. Don't pay me money. Like, what are you, a robot? When someone tells you not to do something, you have to do it. Don't pretend that people say, by the way, I love how he's making it sound like, why would people say this? I don't get it. Why would people say, don't listen to this man? Why would they say, don't listen to a Holocaust denier guy who like makes fun of every race and is really like this terrible political character? So what do you want him to say? Like, you want him to pat him on his back and say he did a good job? But like, what are they supposed to say?
Honestly never bothered me the damn near decade that I've known of this man. I've known of Nick Fuentes and heard about him since 2018. Like, he's always been around. He's always been on this grind. And truth be told, I feel like he's been one of the most consistent people out there.
Yep, that's a big one right there. Consistently racist for years and years and years. Wasn't he like debanked at some time? Like even the country and banks thought he was so controversial that they didn't even want to take his money. And you're here like, no, guys, he's really awesome, I promise.
I don't know. I know a lot of people that know of him and have met him personally. They have their own beef with him or they don't have beef. All I'm here to say is that we're going to be reacting to some clips, ones that I love, some that I've never seen, and we're just going to give some real commentary to it all.
I wonder if I go to this person's page, if they're going to have the same on the opposite side where they find like an extreme Islamist who's been consistent for years and years and years saying equally controversial things, and if he's going to find it funny and all of that, or if he's just going to think that the person's a danger.
Okay, fair. The guy sounds fair. I'm interested actually to see if he agrees with something that Nick says and I don't, or if we agree with the same things and disagree with the same kind of stuff. Maybe that's how it's going to do. Because I did tell you, when Nick speaks about the kind of treatment that white people are receiving in the West, I agree with him. He's right.
Yeah, he is right about that. We all agree. White people in the West are doing pretty bad right now. You know, most of them live in ghettos. A lot of them, they can't feed their families. They face discrimination from the majority. We all know how bad white people have it in the West. And by the way, those same white people who have it badly in the West now want to spread Westernism to the rest of the world. So I guess it's a great, not so great idea. By the way, for the people who don't realize, I'm joking. Obviously, white people have it pretty well in the West. They literally invented it and still run it to this day. So this idea that white people are being treated badly in the West is dumb. At the same time, by the way, they'll say whenever black people say they're being mistreated in the West, it's like, no, that's made up nonsense.
But then, as I know that this upsets some of you, I don't know why, but then again, he loses me with the Hitler stuff. With that being said.
Oh, so do you lose your respect for him? Or do you lose, like, you just like, I just sort of mildly disagree with him on this topic? Hey guys, I just mildly disagree with this guy on this topic of how he loves Hitler.
I want to see how he, with his own logic and reason, explains some of the things and reacts to some of the things, and I'm curious to see if we come to the same conclusions or not.
All I'm saying is minorities are really obnoxious, and they should just behave.
There's a word right now that I want to throw for someone laughing at that stupid statement. So obviously Nick Fuentes is something extremely racist because he's a white supremacist piece of garbage, and that other guy starts laughing. I'm just going to excuse it like, okay, maybe it's just uncomfortable for him. You either just stare blankly or laugh. But yeah, that's not a very smart thing to say.
Hispanics speak English. Muslims, too loud with the Muslim call to prayer. Black people, Speakerphone is not the default option. Put it to your head. Indoor voices.
Dude.
Okay, so he does a racist rant and the other guy laughs, and I'm guessing that everybody on the video is going to laugh at this, except, you know, people who are, well, at least unless people who think that in order to be funny, you should say something funny first, not just anything that you say is hilarious.
This is why people like, this is why, and a lot of these memes are intros to Nick as of lately, why so many young Gen Z people just gravitate towards this man and like they find this funny. Like, this is an actual funny reel. And
if you find this funny, I've got a book full of knock-knock jokes that will floor you. That will surprise you. They are real funny. You'll never see the punchline coming. Just like this one has no punchline. It's just a guy saying stuff.
You've seen Instagram reels, you know how dark it can get, you know how crazy and decrepit it can get. This is funny. It's funny and it's real. It's true.
It's funny, it's real, and it's true. This is nonsense. It's, first of all, it's not funny. It's definitely not real. And, well, real and true is the same thing, so that's just a waste of time.
I will say that I've heard much worse than that. And if I can see, trying to be fair here, I can see someone who has never heard of the other clip, the one that we heard at the beginning where Nick said, if you are actually racist, there is something wrong with you. So let's imagine for a moment, which I agree. If we take that one out of context, someone never heard that and only heard the one we just watched now, I can see how some people might think this guy is racist or he hates people.
I could also see how someone who doesn't bootload themselves with excuses could see how this guy is racist. By the way, Nick Fuentes isn't someone where I've watched viral videos of him and then gone, oh, I don't like him. I'm one of those people who cares about history. And unfortunately, if you care about history, especially African history, at some point you're going to run into people like this who are going to debate African history, Black American history, Black European history, and stuff like that. And I've watched him debate other Black people, actually, and also debate white people who try to tell him that his whole take on history and people is mental. And what he's saying here is awful, but his general opinion on humanity is worse. This guy thinks this guy thinks Jewish people are responsible for every bad thing that happens in the world. This guy thinks that Africans basically did nothing until white people came along. And this guy thinks that, well, basically thinks that Muslims were invented to be the enemies of Christians. This is not some, I saw a few clips and then I made up my mind. This guy is obviously racist.
That are like minorities. But once you have the context of the previous message, then I'm starting to think, is he being funny? So which one is it?
So over here, he does a bad thing by setting up a false dichotomy of either he's being serious or he's being funny, which is a false dichotomy. You can be serious and be funny. There's tons of people who do it all the time. What he's doing is he's trying to make fun of something that he already believes. This is one of the excuses that were given by people like this. Oh, they're just funny, guys. They just say stuff and they're just being funny.
And yeah, so let's see what else he tells us. Let's go. I mean, the fact that a lot of Hispanics don't learn English is true. As someone who had to pick up English.
Firstly, he didn't say they don't speak English. He said speak English, which is a very different statement, considering how popular Spanish is inside of America. You can actually do with it in a lot of places, especially if you live in a Hispanic community. You can actually do without knowing that much English. You know, in the same way that certain people go to other countries and just keep speaking English, even though that country English is not the most widely spoken language. Nick Fuentes, by the way, this party's not going to address. Nick Fuentes is in no position to call anybody loud. This guy uses his outside voice more than anybody else. I also love that he's only criticism for Islam, which it's like that one he doesn't want to step over it too much. His only criticism was, oh, it's too loud, the call to prayer. It's like, what?
Myself as a second language, it is true. So there's nothing racist with that statement.
As plainly as possible.
Okay.
I don't want to live around black people. I just don't. It would be irresponsible if I had a wife and kids to live near black people.
So again, the excuse they're going to throw is that this is a joke, which it is not. This guy is being dead serious by what he's saying. I don't even know if I should waste time explaining why what he's saying is stupid. But yeah, basically everything that this guy says, if like this guy, you interpret it through, oh, he's just joking, then it's going to come through a complete, now, do I think it's okay to joke like that? Not really. But if you look at it through that way, you're going to find it far more tolerable than when you realize that this guy is a political guy. He's not a comedian. He's not a YouTuber guy. He's a guy who actually tried to be taken seriously as a political person.
It just would be.
Hear me out. I'm going to find this reel and I'm going to put it up next because it reminded me of that before I say what I'm about to say. Because what I'm about to say is that he's right. I mean, it's a meme, but it's like low-key real.
This, by the way, is the reason why I want to talk about this video, because this is the crazy part. It's real. So anybody living around you would be irresponsible because you're a black guy, right? So anyone living around you would be irresponsible for them to live around you and your kids because you can't control yourself.
That's why a lot of people move.
I'm interested to see how he describes this. Personally, no, I don't have a problem living near black people, so I disagree with Nick.
Just a mild disagreement. Not disgusted by what he said. And if I said I don't want to live around white people, I think they're dangerous and violent, that's not gonna, be like, maybe there's a little more than just disagreement there.
With that being said, I would have a problem living with ghetto. So if
that is awful. I hate that he said that. I would have a problem living with ghetto. Who is ghetto? Is ghetto somebody? Is that somebody's name? Who is ghetto? I would have a problem living with ghetto. Oh, mildly racist. I think what he's trying to say, which, it's better if I just let it hang. What he's trying to say is that he would hate to live amongst people that he considers violent or whatever, which, by the way, includes white people. I don't know why he's not throwing that in there. And this idea that only black people live in ghettos, like, where does that come from?
If you put next to me, I'm just going to be real about this. If right next to my house, you put like a family that like they're black, African American, and then, or black Americans. I mean, the term African American is kind of weird. What does that make my son European American?
Yes, it does. I know some people think that term is something that's crazy, like, oh, African American. Who else has called something like that? European Americans? Yeah. Asian Americans are called Asian Americans. Indian Americans are called Indian Americans. Native Americans are called Native Americans. But you don't even need to be in America. Afro-Caribbeans, Afro-Arabs, Afro-whatever, Australians, Afro-Japanese, Afro-Saudi Arabians, Afro-Yemeni. The name is there for a reason, because you're from a different continent originally. Your native continent is somewhere different. Everybody does it. It's not an American thing. Just like there are some European Africans. If you ask a European person in Africa, are you European? They're going to say yes. You ask them if they're African, they're going to say yes. They're European South Africans or European Nigerians or European whatever, because they're European. You don't stop being European just because you're now born in a different place. By the way, you know how simple this thing is? You know, when Europeans leave Africa and go back to Europe, they're no longer called European Nigerians or whatever. They're just called Europeans only. But if you're a Nigerian and you go to Europe, you're going to be considered Nigerian, whatever your country is, Swedish, Nigerian, or whatever, because that's just how language works. It's not this crazy thing. And guess what? When you leave Sweden and you go back to Nigeria, if you go back to Nigeria, in other words, 2 generations of full Nigerians in Sweden, and then you come back to Nigeria and you have kids in Nigeria, they're not going to say you're Nigerian, Swedish Nigerian. They're going to, because you have no traces of Swedish in you, they're just going to call you Nigerian. There is something about being of a particular race, especially that is populated to this day in a certain area, and understanding today its nativeness in certain areas, that makes you know, like, okay, that guy's a this type of American, Ethiopian American, blah, 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 Ethiopian, Saudi Arabian, pick one.
Whatever. And like on Sunday, I see them all dressed up. They're going to church. I can see the wife is a teacher. The husband is am I going to have a problem living near black people in that context? No.
Well, ain't you magnanimous? If you see people politely living their lives, you're not going to have a problem living next to them. Well, that's great.
But if they're ghetto, yes, I don't want to live near them. And it would be a lie if I didn't say that.
Right, because nobody in the ghetto ever goes to church or, politely does stuff or just behaves like a normal person. By the way, what does it mean to be ghetto? It doesn't even make sense to me. You're ghetto. What does that mean? It just seems like another way of saying the N-word in another way, which is probably why they like to apply it only to black people or people who behave like black people. What they perceive as the behavior of black people.
So to me, it's more social than ethnic in that sense. And
what do you mean it's more social than ethnic? Don't you mean it's all social and not ethnic? More. So which part of the ethnic part bothers you?
So I would disagree with Nick with the broad statement, but then again, it's a clip. So imagine that after the end of the clip, he actually says this. Then I don't disagree with him.
Right. The only way to disagree with someone is to read their 10-page essays or something. This clip is bad. The next clip's going to be bad. The next clip is going to be bad. And the reason why that's going to happen is because this guy just says bad things and then he hides behind all the other people he doesn't even try to cover for himself, to be honest, because he's got a whole bunch of people. I don't know if they find him attractive or something or what it is, but he's got a whole bunch of people who stand behind him and try to defend him, whether it's that Valuetainment guy, whether it's this video, whether it's other people. I don't know why they think this guy needs to be defended so much.
So at the end of the day, it's important. That's why I say it's very important to not just listen to clips if you want to be fair. Anyways, let me see how he's going to respond to that. Being black.
I love that he throws that in there. Being black. Let's see how the black guy is going to respond to it. No, let's see how a real black guy is going to respond to it. A real black. I love how Brandon Tatum, who we reacted to once, a black guy who's a conservative who likes siding with white people on anything. When he heard Nick Fuentes, he had this whole breakdown inside because at least there's a part of him that's still very, very black that is like, no, I can't side with this nonsense. Meanwhile, this guy is like, oh, by the way, so far this guy hasn't sided with it. He's just shown that he's like a youthful, ignorant person who thinks that everything is funny.
I'm about to say that he's right. I mean, it's a meme, but it's like low-key real. It's why a lot of people move away from the hood and like they move away from all that and they want to go in like a nice neighborhood.
Again, explaining things how you want to hear them rather than what he didn't say, I've got a problem with living in the hood. Everybody can see why you wouldn't want to live in a sort of non-prosperous area, which there are tons of white non-prosperous areas in America which you wouldn't want to live, or Hispanic or whatever. Pick a group. And there's some which are both black and white, and they're poor communities, and you wouldn't want to live there anyway. But he didn't say that. He didn't say, I don't want to live in those poor. He said, I don't want to live around black people. That's everybody who's black, including you.
That have less
Yeah.
black people, because in large part, a lot of black people just don't know how to act.
Ugh. What the hell are you even talking about now? Now you're just, okay, so don't do the hood thing. If you're just going to agree with him and say that you don't like being around black people either, say that. Don't do this trying to distort what he's saying. And yeah, black people don't know how to act, huh? We've been through this before with Brandon Tate and Candace Owens, and they always go the other way. Everybody's gonna go the other way later. You just wait until this man expires, and then you're left alone. You're saying this dumb stuff on your own.
And it's not a pleasant experience. And before someone out there watching this video, oh my gosh, that's so racist. I mean, why would you say that? I've seen so many reels and so many jokes and TikToks of other black creators like saying the same thing.
First of all, that statement on its own is very telling. Why are you seeing so many creators say that stuff? That's like some chronically online behavior. You're chronically online, you're watching the worst of the worst on the internet, and you're trying to justify. I've seen a lot of people say a lot of stupid stuff online. I've seen a lot of people say that, you know, if you see a crime, don't tell the police. I've seen a lot of people say that. I've seen people say all kinds of crazy things that they agree with. I've seen a lot of people online say the earth is flat. What does that mean?
Because it's real. It's recognized even within the black community.
Yeah, already someone calling him racist for saying that he, not even Nick, I'm saying him.
Yeah, that's real uncomfortable. He, the black guy, that guy there, he's saying it. So that doesn't make it right. We're not black people are not robots. We don't just think, oh, a black guy said something, therefore it must be correct. He's just one of the few crazy people we've met in our lives who say stupid things and side with white people when. But what is the point of pointing out that he said it? Why would we? Okay, let me just say what he said backwards and then see if it doesn't make sense. So he said black people need to learn how to act. Do you think that nobody should be offended by that? So black people should just be like, you know what? He's right. We do need to learn how to act. What?
If people call him racist because he's saying this about other black people, that's an impossibility. You cannot be racist against your own race.
Yeah, you can actually. If you support the system, or if you support the group of people who are being racist towards your own group, guess what? You're a racist towards your own group. Racism is an ideology. It is not a race. So it's easy for you to be racist against anything, really. There are women who are sexist. Believe it or not, how you can't be sexist against your own sex. You can. It's very easy. It's very, very easy. And people do it. Go online right now. Go find women who talk trash about women all day online because they want to be I mean, I don't want to play the games, but they want to be considered attractive because they don't have the other faculties, so they try to get attention in that way.
In fact, that's why even when it comes to white people, anyone can be racist towards anyone on the other ethnic side, right? So a black person can be racist towards white people. I don't care what progressives say. And likewise, a white person, of course, can be racist towards black people. Add Asian, add whatever you want. Everyone can be racist towards anyone. If they bring up systemic, it's nonsense. It's an excuse. It's a justification. With that being said, is a white person who hates white people and constantly speaks horribly about white people racist?
Obviously, why wouldn't he be racist? If there's a white person and all they do all day is speak badly about white people, and they're like, oh, white people need to be removed from America. We are a scourge on earth and they need to be removed from Africa and they need to be whatever. Like, if this person is obsessed with getting rid of white people, then he's a racist against white people. It doesn't matter that the person's white. What is that going to do? By the way, saying that black people can be racist towards white people, and if we take that term of racism, which means hating another race, so black people can hate another race, and then you can do it to your own race. Like, where's the malfunction there? Where's the problem? If you take it to mean systemic, helping another system still makes you racist. It doesn't matter which definition you go by. Anybody can be racist towards any group.
No. They're traitors, but they're not racists.
No, they're just racists. By the way, traitor would mean that you were part of a group and that has a certain level of agreement with one another, and then you went the other way. I wouldn't even call this guy a traitor. I just call him a dumb racist guy, right? He's just saying racist things. At the same time, he's not really a traitor in the true sense, because a traitor is more like someone, like, we're in an army and the person is fighting on our sides and then he betrays us. That's more on the side of a traitor. In fact, traitor is something to do mainly with ideology in that sense. But, that's another thing.
They're scum, but they're not racists. At least that's how I see it. And so likewise, he could say whatever the heck he wants about other black people because he's black, so it doesn't make him racist.
Doesn't make him a traitor and scum. This is why, by the way, I was reacting to this, because I think there's some people who legitimately think, like, this is why it works, by the way, the Candace Owens and stuff for white people, because they think that if you throw a black face out there, that other black people are like, oh, this guy can't be racist. He's a pretty cool guy. And he's saying it, that guy, it's like, no, it's just another crazy. Believe it or not, black people believe that other black people are crazy. Believe it or not, we believe that there's some black people who just say stupid things sometimes.
It could make him wrong if you disagree with him. I haven't got a clue. I wasn't brought up in a black neighborhood, so I'll listen to him.
What in the social justice warrior is going on? So now you can't make up your opinion about stuff. You're going to default to a black guy because you're not black. Okay, what about all the other black people? You never default to them about any of the black experiences. But now you're going to default to this guy because he's a racist.
In fact, if you are one of my left-wing viewers and you're offended by what he's saying, at that point I would say, but shouldn't we listen to someone who is black and was brought up black in America and understands what it means? So no, I'm open to listening to him, whether what he's telling me about black communities is good or bad.
First of all, black people have never told anybody in a real way, like where they force you to stop, told you that you're not allowed to listen to any of it. You can listen to Nick if you want to. You can listen to anybody. There's tapes from the 30s that you can listen to that are way more horrendous than any of this stuff. But there's a difference between listening to someone and agreeing with someone. Once you agree with a racist, then you're a racist. And this, I'm going to default to a black guy, that's so dumb.
Not everything needs to be, that's offensive. Who cares? I'm here to learn from the man. So at this point, I think whatever your political position is, let's be open-minded and let's listen to the point that he's trying to draw.
Okay, but none of these views are new or interesting or whatever word you want to use. We know the through line of this. It's like, oh, let's be open-minded to what? It's like when someone says, okay, let me tell you why I believe the earth is flat. And it's like, okay, I could tell you your talking points. Like, don't do this thing of like, let's be open. We've been open-minded. We've seen it. It doesn't make any sense. In fact, white people realized after a while, like, this whole like we're superior stuff, that kind of comes across as nonsense. And then now he's coming in like, oh, let me tell you a brand new thing. Black people need to behave.
That's what I would say. All right, tell us. Why is it the way it is?
Let me find this. Here's.
I love it. Now this guy is his best friend now. Tell us, why is it the way it is? It's not the way it is. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. I don't know how young this guy is, but clearly he's going to change his opinion in the later years. I know he thinks that all of this is like funny now, but you know.
This one says property value is going up when you see white people walking their dog at night.
Have a good one.
What does that entail? That entails your property value is going down when you live around black people. Let me find another one. POV, when you move to an all-white neighborhood and other black people start moving in. So yeah, it's a real thing, not wanting to necessarily live near black people.
Okay, but this is the time that you should be asking the question if that guy is joking or not. Because that could be a joke. Just like that guy who ran through that old video about the guy saying, I'm going to steal all your stuff. This is the time when you should be asking the question, is that guy actually joking or not? This guy's taking it like, look, a black guy who says white people are walking at night, therefore you don't want to live around black people. It's like, what? This whole thing is just weird. By the way, I did mention that Nick Fuentes did go and harass a Jewish guy I'll show you later, and around his whole family and stuff because he wanted to debate whether or not the Holocaust happened.
Because we know how the culture acts and we know how it is and we know what goes down. And I know so many friends and family members who have experienced this, who've been in a nice neighborhood, then they get black neighbors and it's just a stereotypical black neighbors and it just doesn't work out. And it's real. It's relatable.
Of course, I shouldn't be arguing with any of these people, but I just have to do it because it's so annoying. It's not real. It's not relatable. If people don't want to live around you, you're going to feel a whole lot different about it. But you think, like a lot of these other C-word people think, they think that they're exempt from it. Like, oh, when I say black, I mean everyone but me. No, you're part of it. I know you think it's like a group that you can leave, but you can't.
Yeah, so I will double down on I appreciate him explaining to me this. I will double down. For me personally, is most connected to whether they are ghetto or whether they are a good family.
Stop saying ghetto. It's so annoying. I hate it if people do that. Oh, I want to know if they're ghetto or not. It's like, how about well behaved? By the way, people are going to be like, but you don't know. You don't live here. You don't know about the ghetto. It's like, we got people, there's poor people everywhere. We know that most of the good poor people are held prisoner by the bad poor people who live in their neighborhoods. We know that there's normal people everywhere. There's no, if you live in the ghetto, you must be an evil person. That's some dumb stuff. That's some, middle-class privileged people trying to throw like, all poor people are terrible. Places that have poor people tend to have higher crime. Places with higher crime tend to have higher crime things that are related, like trying to tell people that if they, go to the police or whatever, they're going to get in trouble or any of that stuff. This idea that it's because they're ghetto or whatever, it's so annoying.
And in fact, I don't know if we're going to speak about racial profiling as well as one of the kind of spicy topics. So I'll wait to see if that comes up. If not, I'll bring it up myself. Let's see what else Nick is going to say. Yeah. I don't think I think the points that were presented in a way that makes sense.
nothing in this video of anyone that was on screen made sense. All of this was like low IQ takes, and half of them is like explaining stuff that like 5-year-olds could explain better.
That every black person is violent. It's not to say that every black person is the same way.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
But we watch the news. We read the papers. When you drive downtown in Chicago, you know who you got to look out for and worry about when you're thinking about whether you're going to get carjacked, when you're worried about catching a stray bullet, when you're worried about who's going to pull up on the side of the road and literally shove a rifle in your face and steal your iPhone or shoot you point blank, execution style, in Lincoln Park. We know who's doing it.
We've all been through this. The people who are white generally are violently attacked, maimed, R-worded, all these things by other white people. I know if you pick places where there's a lot of black people, you can skew those numbers, but go look at the prison records if you want. I'm not going to waste my time pulling it up now. Go look at it. Go see if there's by number, if there's no black people or white people in prisons right now for doing exactly that. In fact, save yourself the time and just look at this year alone. How many white people have gone to jail in America this year for killing people? And then compare those numbers to black people.
I don't want to live near them. I don't want to be near them. They make me nervous.
What are you supposed to say to that? Because you really can't refute anything that he said.
Actually, you can pretty easily, actually. It's very easy to refute what he said. What he said was so dumb that it's so easy to refute. Again, people tend to be attacked by people who live close to them, people who generally get violently attacked because they don't have the privilege of stealing from people from the comfort of a computer, right? Those people generally tend to be young men who live in poverty, because females, they go about it another way, stealing from the system, using children and stuff like that. It's a much different thing. Or prostitution is another illegal way of making money. Men, sometimes it's drugs and stuff like that. Now, defending your drugs might require you to commit some level of violence, but all of that, a lot of it, 90% of it is related to money, and then it revolves around the protection. All of that is about money. If you want to see violence caused by rich people, all you got to do, it's very simple. All you got to do is go look up dictators, go look up France, England, Portugal, China, any country you want, and then go look at what they're doing to enforce their little factories in other countries so that they can extract all the resources. Then you will see violence caused by the rich and how they don't care either. Oh yeah, there's also people like Jeffrey Epstein and all the people that he worked with.
All the most dangerous thing that happened in Chicago happened at the hands of other black people. So on one end.
So what he just said is so offensive that it's ridiculous. All of the crime, all of the violent crime in Chicago is created by black people. Now, again, obviously, there's a reason why they choose Chicago, because, like they both said, I read newspapers. Like, so everything is just you watching people say things and then you declaring it to be true because you selected specific types of information. So as you can see here, crime data from Chicago indicates that white people commit crimes in the city, though they are disproportionately less likely to be involved in gun violence and homicide compared to black and Hispanic populations. In specific, serious crimes like homicide, white individuals account for a smaller percentage of both offender and victim. Now, this is the important part, because offender and victim is important, because your community is more likely to do things to you. And so if your community isn't offending that much, then your community isn't going to be victimized as much. So this idea of like these black guys, I'm scared because these black guys are gonna do it. It's like, no, that is not true. White people are barely victims in Chicago. Now, does that mean that the crime is good? Definitely not. Do you think that it should be targeted and stopped? 100%. Now, if we continue to read here, we see them say homicide and gun violence, right? White individuals represent a relatively small proportion of homicide victims and offenders in Chicago. In 2011, for example, 5.6% of homicide victims and 3.5% of offenders were white. A study noted that while 25% of Chicagoans and had witnessed a shooting by age 40, this rate was less than half that of black and Hispanic residents. So saying all of the violent crime is created by black people in Chicago is stupid. It doesn't even make any sense. And then also trying to put it in this perspective of like white people should be terrified. It's like, no, they shouldn't. Not in Chicago, but if we go to other places where there's mainly white people, they should be really terrified. Now, they're not going to stereotype their own people for known reasons. Now, obviously, you go, well, what is the population? There's a lot of black people in Chicago. I think the white and the black population is about equal. Let's just look it up. And there it is, right? 32% white non-Hispanics, 28% black or African American, 12% Hispanic, 8.5% two races, including Hispanic, so basically Hispanic, 7% Asian, non-Hispanic. So 32% white, 28% black, 20.5% Hispanic, and 7% Asian. In conclusion, your theory doesn't make sense. The only reason why you talk about Chicago is because it's a popular thing now to talk about in terms of crime, even though there's places in America that have crazy amounts of crime too.
I'm being told by liberals like, oh, Amir, the white man bad, you need to fear the white man, Black Lives Matter, stick with the blacks. But if I'm looking at the hardcore experience, it's the black people making it difficult to even just exist.
So I'm going to guess that this guy has just lived around white people his whole life, because there's no way in hell, if you're a black person and you lived around black people, that your parents never warned you about the bad people in your neighborhood. Now, obviously, because this is what this guy wants, they're not going to be like, hey, go look out for those bad black people outside. They're just going to be like, those dudes out there, they're dangerous. That group over there is dangerous. Don't talk to those people. Don't hang around with that crowd. You've never had that conversation before? Did you just, like, all of a sudden your brain started working when people started talking politics to you?
So, again, another meme, but like the meme is like, oh, you're my real estate agent. But like, it's relatable, it's honest, it's real, it's transparent. And people gravitate towards this because there's no sugarcoating. Like, there's no bullshit with it.
Yeah, I would get upset more, but this guy already said he's Gen Z. He's like a young guy. Metatron is way too old to be believing what this guy is saying. Also, just a little bit of the brain, use it a little bit to say, does what this guy is saying, does it make sense to some degree? Is it like something that is, no one could argue against what he's saying? Just think about that. Like, nobody could argue what this guy is saying, this Gen Z guy is saying, which, by the way, is a funny word to use as a real human being. It's like a marketing term, but whatever. You think that there's nothing that this little kid is saying? There's nobody who's smart enough to argue against his points?
Yeah,
no, it's not.
Yeah, so the fact that Nick does, whatever you want to say about Nick Fuentes, he does not sugarcoat anything, and I think that is the reason why he's popular, because he's popular. There is no, whether you can hate.
Okay, so first of all, Nick Fuentes sugarcoats his racism with this, everybody sort of understands what I'm talking about nonsense. Before, he was way more, in your face about what he actually believed. This is sugarcoating what he's doing right here. And, still doesn't taste any good. But everything that he's saying is not real. A lot of it is based off of like getting attention by being a super troll. A lot of it he actually believes. If you've ever read and looked at some of the stuff that they tell racists to say and do it through memeing and stuff like that, then you will know what I am talking about.
Nick Fuentes and absolutely despise anything he says. As I say, for me, it's a case by case, but you can't refute the fact that he's popular. So I like that the approach that he has towards this, apart from the fact that he's clearly showing that he's very open-minded and he has a thick skin, but it's also the fact that he's trying to understand in an analytical way why he's popular. And he's telling us probably one of the reasons why he's popular is because basically he's the exact opposite of political correctness at this point. He doesn't care, and he just states what he thinks is the fact.
So over here, Metatron is just plainly lying when he says he likes people who are blunt, who say what they want, as long as they're popular. And you can disagree with him, you can find what he says controversial, but you can't deny he's popular, and therefore we have to listen to what he says and we have to relax and whatever the hell. Because I can play an example of someone where he doesn't feel that way.
He's very, very strategically minded. I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually a Satan spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded. I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually...
Right. Charlie Kirk is a Satan spawn, according to... And somehow CNN showed that. Absolutely, CNN showed this tolerance. I am sure that the left is going to be packed of new people moving from the center thinking, man, you know what? This is what I really want. You convinced me now that you... Yeah, this is exactly...
So, of course, this is Destiny. He's someone that is controversial, which I would think if you were someone who was one of these people who doesn't like someone like this guy, you would definitely hate Nick Fuentes, but apparently that's not how it works. But you can see already that there must be some kind of a thing made. Some CNN shouldn't even have this guy on because he thinks a random, at the time, he wasn't even dead, a random guy who is popular is Satan spawn. Therefore, he should not even be allowed on CNN. Which is like, wait, what?
Absolutely. 12th of September. 12th of September. And what he has to say about it? Make a joke and change it into was. That's why these people are the enemy of the left before being the enemy of the right. They are the reason so many centrists are turning right-wing. And they are the reason why so many moderate lefties are turning centrist.
So, of course, here he's pointing out that the guy made fun of a dead person, which I don't agree with. I don't run to make fun of anybody who dies. I think it's disgusting behavior. But Nick Fuentes makes fun of the Holocaust and other adjacent events from similar time periods. This guy is not a good person at all. Why would one be different than the other? And the reason why I have to play this part is because it's to show the contrast in kid gloves that are given to far right extremists. And then when it's far left extremists, then all of a sudden it's like, these people need to be stopped. They're doing all the purest forms of evil.
Prove me wrong. Now, of course, he made more videos about it. Let's have a look. Is he being at least basically decent? I'm not asking for him to like Charlie Kirk. That would be a lie, clearly. So I appreciate honesty. But what is he saying?
Again, peep the language. He's literally telling them to be decent. Is he going to be decent? Nick Fuentes isn't decent. So why should anybody else be decent that you're gonna like?
Is he being decent? Decent and destiny are two D's you will never see together anywhere.
Yeah, but you don't really care about decency. Otherwise, you would not be defending Nick Fuentes in any way, shape, or form. Which is why a lot of right-wingers, that's why right now I was going to make a video about this, right now there's a civil war in the Republican Party again about Nick Fuentes, because half of the Republicans are like, well, I thought we weren't actually racist. And then the other half is like, I don't care. Let's be racist. Who cares?
He says, don't apologize for Charlie Kirk's death. You gotta be joking. His body was still warm and his wife is still grieving, and this is what he does. And by the way, he was mocking his wife as well, as she was like kneeling in front of the casket crying, and he was mocking her. This guy is vile. This guy is anything and everything he accuses the opposite side to be. So whenever this guy sees someone vile on the other side, which of course exists, vile people exist everywhere. There are vile people in my religion, Christianity. That doesn't make Christianity wrong. It just makes the people who are within Christianity that happen to be vile, vile.
But those same vile people, like Nick Fuentes, it seems like people who consider themselves conservative, which, by the way, if you support a lot of what Nick Fuentes says, you're not just conservative, you're on the far right. But if you support stuff that Nick Fuentes says, or if you defend what Nick Fuentes says, not just on anything, obviously you're going to agree, or like, do people walk? I think me and Nick are going to agree that yes, people walk. I'm talking about serious stuff. When it comes down to it, you're going to have to disagree with what he's saying. And if you don't, then I don't understand why you would have a problem with people going, well, it doesn't matter if he's vile. I still like the person. I find him funny. I find it funny when he makes fun of the dead. I find it funny when he does all of this stupid stuff. He's just telling a joke. He's just being funny.
And this is what people like him are doing. They take the full group and they apply the worst rhetoric from a single bad apple onto the entire group, and then they say their call to actions for violence. This is the difference. This is an important aspect that needs to be underlined. Do not take bad apples and apply them to everyone. Take the bad apples and hold them accountable. But he says
again, are you holding Nick Fuentes accountable? Is this how we treat people who, again, I have to show the video of him go. Okay, let me just show the video of him going up to Ben Shapiro. So basically, let me first preface this. Basically, Nick Fuentes made some horrible statements about how the Holocaust never happened. And then he made some stupid joke about it, saying, which, by the way, the joke doesn't mean he doesn't believe it, saying things about baking and ovens and stuff like that. I don't want to get into it. It's too disgusting. But saying stuff like that. And then Ben Shapiro disagreed with him, right, on his show, because they're public figures. You can disagree with someone. And then Ben Shapiro decided to, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically corner him in the middle of the street with his family so that they can debate whether or not the Holocaust happened. He did this to a Jewish guy.
Ben, it's great to see you. Why did you give a 45-minute speech about me at Stanford, and you won't even look at my
Hey, he's with his kids.
Come on, I'm right here. Oh, hey, let him cross, man. Let him cross. I know you're with your family, but I can't get you anywhere else. A 45-minute speech? Wow. Well, that's our free speech warrior, everybody. Champion of the battle of ideas.
In my humble opinion, not only is that not decent, it's disgusting. Like, even everybody who's around is literally like, oh my God, what the hell? Why is this guy doing this? Why is this racist guy following a Jewish person so that he can debate about whether or not the Holocaust happened, because a Jewish guy felt offended by this guy claiming that it never happened? Which, by the way, people are going to be like, no, this guy's had debates, long debates, where he says stuff like this. And then he says all kinds of things about Jewish people, which are awful beyond that. And again, now some people are going to be like, oh, but are you defending Destiny? No, I'm not. I think Destiny's racist too. I've seen him say stuff that is racist. And I'm not talking about clips. I'm talking about him sitting debating people, because I don't just watch clips. I go watch people's full stuff. I read people's books and all that stupid stuff. And people say crazy things if you let them. And when they do, then you go, okay, well, I've got my opinion on them.
Don't apologize for Charlie Kirk's death. Excuse me, what? First of all, who is asking to apologize? Look at the mental manipulation there. No one is asking someone who didn't do anything to apologize. However, if there is someone like you who has been constantly pushing for violence onto people you disagree with, yes, you should apologize, but you won't because you wanted this. He said it, he stated it. He said this is what he wanted. This is the America he wants to live in, an America where people cannot freely express their ideas without the fear of being gunned down like animals. This is the America he wants, which is why he's now doubling down and saying, don't apologize.
Which, of course, you must respect, because he is being blunt, he is being brave, I guess, and he is popular. So you must think this guy is awesome.
When it comes to the idea of racial profiling, for me, if I'm walking down a street with my wife, and and if I see, let's imagine, a bunch of like hood people from the hood with the hoodies on, whatever, they look ghetto, they speak ghetto, we change road. But as I was saying, on the same note, the reason why I wouldn't necessarily make it 100% racial is because, once again, if I'm walking around and I see a lawyer with a briefcase and he's black, well dressed, with the phone talking about business, I don't feel threatened.
So the best way to put what he just said is that he means that if he sees people who look threatening in the middle of a street, whether they're black or white, I would hope that he is going to cross the road. Because I know he's from Europe, so he's definitely had to cross the road when shady people who live in Europe are there. And he doesn't live in like, never mind. Let's just carry on. Also, if you have to rise to the point where you're a lawyer in order for people not to cross the road when they see you, that's racial discrimination in itself. Like, obviously, there's stuff between a lawyer and that. And of course, if black people judge people by, okay, this is the typical clothing that white people wear when they commit crimes or whatever, and then there would be people who would complain all day
by that man at all. So to me, it's not just an ethnic thing. It is a connection with social aspects of it. That's what I think.
So I'm glad he did the road comparison. What if you were like a famous Jewish guy and there was a guy who said he loves Hitler and is very related to the far right, and he confronted you in the middle of the street? Would you cross the road, or would you like sit down and have a chat with this young man? You know, this obviously reasonable young man who has never committed violence against anybody ever and has never threatened violence on anybody except, you know, the people that he has.
But then again, if you disagree, let me know. Let's continue.
No, it's not the Jews. No, it's not women. No, it's not blacks. It's actually really complicated. No, it isn't at all. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. In paradise. It's that simple. It's literally that simple.
Holy shit.
So if you find stuff like this acceptable, what it does is it removes your ability to then criticize other people for saying things that are awful online. So you cannot say, oh, that Destiny guy is saying horrible things. Oh, someone else said something horrible, the far left this or the far right that. If you think that's acceptable to say that most black people need to be in prison, if you believe that, or if you support someone saying that, then it's fine. But then don't complain the other way when people say equally controversial things the other way.
Guy's a good sport.
That is my
though.
favorite clip
He's a good
I've
sport.
ever seen of that man. That is my favorite clip. It is so funny. It is so.
Again, this kid is little Gen Z guy. Stuff like this seems funny when you're a little kid, until of course you get in trouble. Like that one kid that they didn't allow in Harvard because he used the N-word and stuff like that. And I get it, still a little kid, doesn't understand what the hell he's doing. He's probably I hope he's going to change. By the way, I know nothing of this guy's content. I'm going to have to look it up. And I've got a feeling it's going to be down the same line.
Funny. And that is one of the most famous clips that's ever went around. It's one of the most quotable ones.
I don't want for black people to get in prison.
Okay, well, at least he didn't support that part of it. You don't want most black people to go to prison. Okay. Well, I guess there's a silver lining there somewhere, I guess. But the rest of it is like, why are you still listening to this guy? He literally says he wants to see most black people go to prison, which, by the way, is less controversial than the weird stuff about him saying that they should go back to Africa a long time ago. And then all of those videos are scrubbed from the internet now.
Just wanted to bet that. Just the bad ones. Likewise, for whatever it is. Like, that's one of the things that I say when you say Nick is lit. Well, good for you. I'm glad you like it, Syed. I mean, I'm not going to condemn you for it. Absolutely.
That's good that you don't condemn him. Why would you condemn someone who thinks that it's a good idea to lock up most black people? For what? I have no idea. For being black, I guess. I guess this is the take right now. It's like, if you support Destiny, again, I don't support Destiny at all. I've seen his videos, definitely, because he's one of the biggest speakers on the left. But if you support Destiny, be ashamed of yourself. If you support Nick Fuentes and his big mission to get most black people locked up, which, by the way, is not even close to his controversial opinions. In fact, let me play a video for you.
I'm saying the priority for women should be to get married and have kids. So, high school, but I don't think they should go to college.
Okay, women should not go to college.
So just to be clear, your highest level of education that you're endorsing for women is high school.
Yeah, and I think, by the way, I think for most people, it should be high school. I think that the vast majority of women should not be going to college.
Can I ask you, because you've talked before about the concept of a Catholic theocracy. Mm-hmm. In a Catholic theocracy, would you make it illegal for women to go to college?
No.
Okay. Just curious.
What is this, by the way? Is this you're like interrogating me here? I know you're prepared. You're ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of respect for you. That's why I respect for you as a debater, and so that's why I wanted to ask you these questions. But you have said a lot of things, and I think the reason why I'm asking this question is because I did watch you one time on No Jumper, and you were one way, and I watched you on Fresh and Fit, and you're a different way, and then I watched you on America First.
Which is what? What are the differences?
You're on America First, and you are a very, very different way.
Like what? What are the differences?
Well, No Jumper, I mean, you were a borderline civil rights activist. I love everyone.
Really? Well, wait,
yeah.
What did I say?
Oh, you were just like, I love everyone. I love the Jews.
So basically, yes, I can say that. By the way, if you're denying what he's saying, just go look at the videos that he's talking about. When he's talking with his far-right buddies on podcasts, he's way different than when he goes on Fresh and Fit, which is basically a very racist, sexist show. And he goes and spews different stuff on there, which is very racist. And then he goes and, as he mentioned, goes on No Jumper and is basically a civil rights activist. Not really, but basically everything he said on every other place, which they ask him about on the show, he walks all of that back. He's not your blunt talker, whatever you want to believe. He just says stuff that he thinks is going to be appropriate for the crowd that he's speaking to, while still keeping this air of controversy.
Absolutely, that's fine. You can like whoever you want. Freedom of speech, my friend. I have a problem. It's a similar situation when it comes to immigrants. I don't know, actually, the position of Nick Fuentes on immigration. Let me know.
well, no one knows his position on immigration because he's got 500 different positions on immigration depending on who he's talking to. When he's talking to your buddy Destiny, he has a way more nuanced point of view because Destiny knows how to debate him. And so he has to make sure that he's very careful about what he says. In other parts, he, basically says the great replacement theory. He's one of the big champions of it. And then in other parts, it sounds like he's not completely against it. I mean, one of the quotes that he has, which I can't find right now, but on Destiny, well, it was another podcast. He said, either we do the assimilation thing or people do this thing where they stay in their enclaves or whatever. And, that's his modern nicey nice. I give you an ultimatum. Either we do super racism or we disband. I mean, in this context, he was talking about the Jewish people.
1904 to an Italian American in San Francisco on the financial needs of Italian immigrants and other underserved people. The bank eventually merged with another institution to form Bank of America and changed its name to Bank of America, right? Mm-hmm. The tellers were Italians. They would give small little loans, $10, $4, $5 to them. And some people were not supportive of that. They're like, what are Italian immigrants doing here? You guys are becoming too much power in New York. We're not happy about this. So there was some of that going on 100 years ago.
And that's what I'm saying is that did exist. And then what happened eventually is that Italians assimilated. Eventually, these groups, these ethnic advocacy groups were broken up, if you could call the outfit that, or the mob of New York. And then Italians assimilated. And when I grew up, I saw myself as American. I didn't see myself as Italian American. I just saw myself as American. And I think that, when you see Jewish people working together, I don't think there's anything wrong with that inherently. And I agree with you. It's like a superpower. It's actually admirable in some ways. They look out for each other. But if society becomes, American society in particular, a place where every group is ganging up, well, we're the whites, we're the blacks, we're the Jews, then I think what America is starts to come apart, and it turns into kind of like a bit of a politicized race war. And I think that you either have to have a society where everybody gets to play by those rules and everybody could be pro what they are, or everybody is assimilated and we're all Americans. And that's why I say it's detrimental, is that if Jewish people are Jewish first, not of, by, and for America, but of, by, and for the Jewish nation, this is problematic when they're in positions of power, because are they looking out for all of us? Or are they looking out for themselves first?
So again, this guy was asking him about immigration, and that's where he got to. And either way, that's the new and improved version of what he's saying. He said some of this in the olden days when he was saying stuff as well, but only when people would push back on what he says, then he'd realize, like, okay, I got to put my thinking cap on here. But before that, he would just say whatever. Thinking that no one could push back on it. And again, there's tons of debates. You can go watch them one by one.
If you know. Well, when it comes to me, I'm strongly against illegal immigration. I think illegal immigration is wrong and it should be blocked. No excuses. When it comes to legal immigration, I don't think there is anything wrong as long as it's not overdone, because if you do it too much, then, and also there have to be real parameters, like who are these people, background checks, make sure that they are here because they provide actual doctors and engineers.
So I'm not going to push too much back on this point of view because it's kind of irrelevant. I more care about him not calling out Nick Fuentes on the stuff that he says, and possibly even wanting to talk to him in the future, which I would love to see if he would call him out or if he'd give him like a beautiful interview. But yeah, that doesn't matter, their opinion so far, at least for my video. It doesn't matter what he thinks about immigration. Everybody has different opinions on immigration. Obviously, I believe that there's such a thing as refugees, so there definitely should be some people who come into the country very quickly. Otherwise, they're going to die in different countries, by the way. This happens. People people think everybody just migrates to America, but a lot of people, Yazidis did this when ISIS was coming after them. They migrate to the closest countries, and they don't have time to do anything. They got to run. They got to get out of there.
Not these are doctors and engineers, and then we have a bunch of imbeciles with machetes that scream Allah Akbar. No. Okay.
Well, that's a very specific example. To be again, Muslim people with machetes who scream Allah Akbar. Yeah. Which, by the way, Muslims are more, they're more a threat to other Muslims than they are to Christians. But I'll make another video on that.
I'm talking the real deal, the people that can contribute to society, or like someone is marrying someone from wherever the hell, and they do a marriage visa, and then he finds a job. I don't have a problem with that. So legal immigration is fine, but it's necessary, because if you don't immigrate through the proper channels, we can't do background checks, and so you can't distinguish, which is the key, the nutshell of what I was addressing here. We can't distinguish within the illegal immigrants which ones are really bad, rapists, murderers, violent people.
Again, all of this depends on how they're getting there, why they're getting there, but this is a video for another day, so I'm not going to get too into detail with this. I know, though, that everybody everywhere in the world believes in protecting their borders, but at the same time, everyone everywhere is not as cruel as some people are.
And the people that are not nice, they would be nice. Okay, but because I don't know, there's a massive question mark, I say send them all back and go through the proper channels so we can check. It's a very simple thing. But I don't think every single illegal immigrant is a murderer, or every single illegal, they're all breaking the law.
So, of course, when you get immigrants into your country, some of them will be bad apples. Keyword there, some of them. It will almost always be a small number compared to the rest of the people. In some places, immigrants are definitely not what you should be worrying about. You should be worrying about the population that's already there. I mean, if you really want to get rid of immigration, you should probably target the smugglers who smuggle people from one country to another. But why would they do that when there's so much profit in that area?
Every single one of them. But people that say they are all rapists, they're wrong. So likewise.
You mean people like Donald Trump, who said that they were quote unquote rapists, and some of them are good people, I assume, is what he said. Which there's no other way to look at that but for someone to be saying that the majority of them are doing that type of stuff. And then, of course, if you follow it up with how he's treating them now, it's like, oh, yeah, he was not joking.
I usually use this with every culture, with every situation. I look at, let's make sure that we punish the criminals, and we punish them harshly. I hate it when they're like, oh no, but we need to understand. No, because mercy for the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. There you go. Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent, and that's a fact.
Well, it really depends what you mean by the word mercy. Mercy to the innocent, if you mean, mercy to the guilty, if you mean not treating the guilty with as much anger as you have in your heart for real, that's not a hate for the innocent. That's called trying to make a better society by not having a bunch of very violent people in prison who, when they get out, are going to see us as much as bad guys as they see other criminals in prison, and then they're going to cause some of the worst pain that we've ever seen, as they do in some countries in the Middle East, where some groups, they go to some of the most dangerous prisons, some of them held by the United States, and then when they get out, they don't see innocent people.
That Nick has ever done, because again, it's funny. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be in prison for the most part.
Yeah, first of all, it's not funny, but it's also not even close to accurate. Jews are not running society. There's a lot of people who are Jewish, and really every other race, who are in the higher ranks, but that doesn't mean they're running society. It doesn't even make sense. And then 2, blacks don't need to go to jail. And the third one, the one about women is just crazy.
And we would live in paradise.
I mean, women need to shut up. It's kind of a guy's joke anyways.
And truth be told.
And again, if you're playing what you guys like to say is not being a snowflake or whatever, then I understand why it's completely fine to make it as a joke. But this guy doesn't believe that as a joke. He says it as a joke also, but he doesn't believe it as a joke. He literally believes that that should be the situation. So this dismissing it like it's a joke, it's silly. This guy has sat down for hours talking about why women should be, basically put the way that quote unquote Christianity says, which, by the way, if you read the Bible, you do not get that point of view. But, whatever.
I mean, you're allowed to have your opinion. You're allowed to think certain things. No one's preventing you from doing it. Well, a lot of people have prevented this man from doing just that. A lot of people have prevented this man for almost a decade now from using his voice, using his platform to speak, banned off of payment platforms, at one point banned from TSA. At one point, someone even tried to at his house, all for just saying things that he's allowed to say.
Well, I know it hurts more when your God or your idol gets hurt, but believe it or not, people like Nick Fuentes have had people who follow them go and try and hurt other people. Believe it or not, there are other people who are probably worth way more of a defense than this guy is, but yet you're here defending him instead of those people who have been attacked themselves from, let's not even give it examples.
Yeah, that's actually one thing. I do, even though I have several points of disagreements with Nick Fuentes and he's a little extreme end when it comes to me. With that being said, I think it's wrong. People trying to off him, obviously, that's disgusting, and anyone would be happy about that. You are the problem. And when it comes to censorship, no. I mean, as long as he doesn't call for incitement to violence, ugly speech is protected speech. So even if something he says, let's say for a moment that maybe there is a sentence he said, but it was humor, it was dark humor. Okay, humor is humor.
Again, there's a lot of stuff going on here, which is not good. One of them is this humor thing that keeps coming up. This guy is he is a clown, but he's not a comedian. He's not sitting there saying these things just to be humorous. And the second thing is he's doing this violence thing because he wants to say, since Destiny, quote unquote, promoted violence, and this guy has, quote unquote, never promoted violence. Therefore, that makes it a big difference. Now, I could give you examples of Nick Fuentes promoting violence, but these far right guys, they've been taught to hide their opinions, as I've demonstrated earlier. They've been taught to hide their opinions. So he's not going to out and say, I believe in political violence, even though I could waste my time going to look for some of the earlier videos where he wasn't as careful as he is now, which people have missed. But I don't have time to waste on that.
But let's say there is a sentence he said, and it's actual ugly speech. Fine, it's ugly. We can agree it's ugly. He's still allowed to say it. This is the United States of America. We don't live in freaking Saudi Arabia. And we don't live in communist USSR Russia. We don't live in fascist Italy. So he should be allowed to say it. And the problem is that I think the reason why Nick Fuentes is so popular right now, and it's kind of creating this split between America First and MAGA, is because people like Destiny and people like Hassan Hamas Spiker say outrageous stuff and they get away with it. I mean, Destiny was banned from Twitch, but he still makes huge amounts of money. And a Spiker can say whatever he wants and no one touches him.
I love how all these people who are conservatives just bow down to being reactionaries, where they just do things because the other side is doing something. And it's like, oh yeah, we have some people on the other side who are controversial, and therefore, what we need is someone who's controversial on our side who's going to say crazy things. Which, by the way, this idea, this imagined idea that it's because the left has crazy people is ridiculous. You can go all the way back. Every single decade in America, there's been a far right person who is extremely popular. every single decade. So even before the people that he's blaming for this, which again, I'm not a big fan of either of them, the people that he's mentioning, either of them were not around when some of these people were popular. The reason why Nick Fuentes is popular is because there's a lot of racists in the Conservative Party, and they want to hear what he has to say, and they agree with it.
On Twitch, and he's in fact he's Twitch golden boy. So my problem is, and it's not just my problem, but the problem is that not only we see a massive double standard, it's either everyone can use ugly speech, or we block everyone. But then it's not whataboutism. It's perfectly fitting. It's perfectly fitting because they're canceling him, but I didn't hear him say, let's go shoot every liberal. But Hamas Piker said, let's go shoot every conservative. And Hamas Piker is not getting cancelled. He's getting invited. They pay him a lot of money. It's absolutely not whataboutism.
So I don't know in the case of Hassan, but you can easily, if you wanted to be a weirdo, you could easily say everything that Destiny is saying, he's saying in jest as well. And he's saying it because he says the right can get away with joking about violence. So why can't he get away with joking about violence? Now, of course, the other side is going to be like, he's not joking, he's being serious, which, by the way, I don't know whether he's joking or not joking, but I definitely wouldn't take any chances when someone is a political person and then they run around saying they want to do bad things to people and stuff like that. But if you're going to take this sort of thing with Nick Fuentes, then you got to do it with Destiny as well and say, which again, not a fan, you're going to have to do it with Destiny as well and say, oh, because that's how he explains it. He explains that, no, I don't actually mean what I'm saying. I'm just saying it because I know it's going to piss off the other side. And if we're allowed to do the free speech thing, then blah, blah, blah. And then people are going to then say on the other side, no, he's promoting violence. It's like, okay, but can't you see the problem here? That you're only going to believe someone when that they're joking when they're not part of the left. When they say, I'm actually not being dead serious about going and committing violence against people.
Behaving like the people who are despicable would be leading that type of rhetoric. It would be denying every single bad thing. How many times as a liberal? How many times as a liberal have you been on a show? Not you in general, but like a liberal been on a show and you've been forced to disavow all of the BLM riots, disavow all of the violence, and blah blah blah. And then you talk to conservatives about it. January 6th,
violence,
that was
that's
a false
good.
flag.
Yeah.
January 6th. Oh, like conservatives disavow January 6th?
Wait. First off, there's an entire cultural machine that has lied. There is an entire
we just
cultural.
saw it in real time. That's it.
What?
That's why conservatives deserve absolutely zero sympathy for anything that happens as a result of their rhetoric. That's it. It's so easy. Like it's so simple.
Okay, but I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about, but I would say this is the type of person that the internet has broke their brain, thus leaving them with very little empathy for their co-human. I mean, a good, decent father is now dead because of this. He's had his brains blown out because he was defending his wife and daughter.
And if you think it's whataboutism, go Google the definition. It is not. It's perfectly, and I'm explaining to you why people are connecting to this guy. They are connecting to Nick because they see that this is happening, and then they see people on the right that have been continuously saying, we are against cancel culture, we're against censorship, we are pro First Amendment, but then they say cancel him.
Yeah, sure. And you think that it's just because of the stuff that he says? You don't think that a lot of the stuff that he says comes across to a lot of people, even in the right, as violent, as stoking violence? I mean, I know that on the steps of the January 6th stuff, he said some pretty weird stuff there too. I'm not going to say he said something violent because apparently he called lawyers to a newspaper that accused him of that. So he did not say anything about violence that day, ever.
It's hypocritical at that point. It's hypocritical at that point. And so hypocrisy doesn't help. It just doesn't help. It's why Pam Bondi, I made an entire video against Pam Bondi. in theory, we should be on the same side. I'm a right-winger. She's a right-winger. I think
that's actually pretty weird for someone to call themselves a right-winger. I've never heard anybody describe themselves as a right-winger. That's usually what the other side will describe you as. Normally, conservatives, if that's their political leaning, will say that they're centrist. And to be fair, if you see the way they've voted over the years, how they go back and forth, a lot of them are centrist. But to call yourself a right-winger is a little weird.
She's out of her damn mind when she said, oh, people that laugh at Charlie Kirk's death, we're going to send boots on the ground, FBI, kick in your door. Are you out of your mind? If they are calling for violence, yes.
So if they call for the arrest of people who mock Charlie Kirk, that's violence. But if they call for the arrest of most black people, as he did in this video, that's perfectly okay.
But just because they are using ugly speech, you can't have government involvement. The only thing that I think is fair at that point is that private entities, such an employer, finds out, oh, the person I've employed is laughing at Charlie Kirk's death. I don't want him in the workforce. That's fine. But government intervention, this is not what the USA is about. That's what I think. As you see today, we're kind of jumping between historical topics, political topics, just as an answer of response to those who say, oh, is this just a grift channel now? No, it's a freedom channel, because we love freedom here.
Well, I mean, as you said, it's a right-wing channel, so it makes sense if you consider yourself right-wing that you would take the side of people on the right. And I mean, some people would argue, if you defend Nick Fuentes, that you're not just on the right, you're either on the far right or the near far right.
So, yeah.
Especially like critiquing Israel, you're allowed to do that. I'm sorry. If Ben Shapiro can go on college campuses and go on tours, just ripping and railing about the black community, then Nick Fuentes can do the same thing, ripping and railing about the Jewish community.
So yes, Ben Shapiro has said some very racist stuff about black people. Well, I agree it's racist, but I don't know about these guys. Suddenly, this guy is like a super I defend black people now type of person. How come you don't find that funny when Ben Shapiro does it? All of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, why can't he just go and say stuff like that? And then, of course, he says he can say whatever he wants about the Jewish community. There's a difference between Israel and the Jewish community. Criticizing Israel, there's nothing wrong with it, but Israel is not the Jewish community.
It's fair game. It's free speech and it's fair game.
He's right.
I'm not mad at it. I'm living in this country with free speech. That means free speech. Therefore, that includes a speech that I may not like or that I may find offensive, and I
like him.
Cool. That's what I sign up for.
So I wasn't going to bring this up because they didn't bring it up in the video, but you know that most of your free speech advocates want to get rid of like rap and hip hop because they think it's violent speech and that it's controversial and that it's ruining the community and all this other stuff. You do realize that's like very counter this belief. And then, of course, they want to get rid of certain forms of education about, and again, it's whatever opinion you want, but they want to get rid of teaching people about homosexuality, putting on a TV. How come they put it all over on TV? What about free speech? Right? You could put whatever opinions you want on TV. You want to put a homosexual couple on TV. If you want to put the majority, it's your company. You want to put the majority on TV, you do it. But then suddenly that's a problem. That's like, no, you're trying to brainwash our community. Okay, so are you free speech or not?
Because the second we start mandating speech and well, we can't say this, we can't say that, who controls that? Who puts who has that control to say, well, you can say this and you can't say that? Because there's a lot of things that people find offended that other people don't. The same people talking about, oh my gosh, the right is so racist and misogynistic and homophobic and transphobic. Okay, well then why are there Republican trannies, Republican gay people, Republican black people, and Republican women?
That's an odd question, given the fact that you're a black guy talking bad about black people. It doesn't matter that there's people like that in those parties, because there are people who 100% can be on a side, even though it goes completely against everything that they are. And if you don't believe that, then you don't believe in the human brain, because that happens all the time.
Yeah, I think it's a fringe in the right that is actually those things, because to be honest, yeah, I get that myself. Believe it or not, I do get the occasional guy on Twitter that whenever I speak about something and then we clearly both on the right, he's probably a lot more right than me, but then he comes and tells me, you're Sicilian, adds an insult and says, you'll never be an American, we don't want you here, go back to your country. And I'm like, you do realize that I'm literally your grandfather, you absolute imbecile?
Well, you're not literally his grandfather, but even beyond that, it's like, that's a dose of that far right there. That's the real far right. Everybody who is in the far, well, everyone who thinks that they're could be friendly with the far right, when they get the dose of the real far right, they get real surprised. When they realize that a lot of the far right don't like a lot of Europeans, they definitely don't like Italians, they don't like Jews, they don't like, I forgot if they hate Russians or not, but there's so much in that context where there's certain people that they don't like because they're far right. And again, I've watched a lot of these discussions because need to know thine enemy, and they have very strange opinions. I mean, some of them have literally said that everyone who migrated from the 60s to America, black, white, whatever, has to go back because America is for the foundational people only. And it's like, that's the far right.
Like, I'm a European who's relocating to America, I'm your grandfather. Anyways. Yeah, there is a fringe in the right that is homophobic, racist, transphobic, and all that stuff. Problem is that what the left does is that usually they take that, they turn it into a blob, and whether you be like a moderate conservative, whether you be a right-winger in general, whether you be far-right, alt-right, MAGA, non-MAGA, libertarian with right-wing ideas, everyone is racist and homophobic, and that's a very dishonest thing to do. But
so that's news to me. The only people who are homophobic in American politics are people in the far right. Really? Is that the new message? I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. The transphobic one, it's like, it depends what you consider transphobic, but I would say the majority of Americans are probably transphobic, depending on what you consider it. I mean, it's not a settled science or anything. But homophobic, you got Democrats that are homophobic. You've got Republicans that are homophobic. You've got far right, far left, whatever. I think some people think that people's belief is not also tied to their actions. It's only tied to if they say they're homophobic or if they say they're racist.
It is true that some people are like that, absolutely. Yeah. So there is that. Wrong European, Anglos as his grandparents, not Italians. Maybe, it will surprise you. Some of these, they are all about the Benjamin Franklin idea on who is white and who is not. Then you look and their grandfather's name is like Esposito.
Well, to be fair, the real reason they don't want other Europeans, the far right, the reason why they don't want other Europeans coming in is not because they don't believe they're related to them. They just believe that there's a difference between America and Europe, and they don't want the culture of Europe to infect America. And of course, Metatron lives in Europe, lived in Europe at least, and he should know that not every European considers every European to be exactly the same. There are some who look at Polish as they're this. There's some, and I mean today, there's some who look at these other guys like this. They look at Italians like this, Sicilians like this, whatever. The other Romani people, they look at them like these are like that. Russians.
Esposito. Please.
Who controls what? And that's the problem with the censorship. It's the things like this, it's the quotable stuff and how just like raw this man is. Yeah. And that makes him so relatable and just real and funny to a lot of people out there. Like a lot. People
yeah, of course, it's very relatable to racists who say racist things in their spare time. And when you sit back and remember back in your racist days when you and your friends would just go back and say racist things, the stuff that he says reminds you of sweet racist home.
Underestimate how much power this man has and how much pull and how many like followers he gets. I genuinely feel like you ask the average man under like 30, I'll go 35 and under, who Nick Fuentes is, they know because they're tapped in, and a lot of people understand his language. Even when like you do a deep dive like we're doing in this video.
Firstly, a lot of people who are above 30 know exactly who this guy is, but also this is not a deep dive. This is the most shallow dive I've ever seen into somebody ever.
And we're watching the clips, you can see when he's being like serious, when he's being soft, when he's being funny, when he's being memey, because it's meme culture. And we're gonna see throughout this video what a meme is, what it isn't, when he's being serious, when he's not. So we'll get, like I said, we'll get into that later. But what we do know is not meme culture is life when real shit happens. Especially.
That's fine if you want to believe that. But then you better hold that same type of energy when people start joking about Charlie Kirk. And I don't want to hear, no, it was too soon or none of that. There's no such thing. If you believe that you can make fun of anything, then it's anything at any time, anywhere, anyhow. None of these games